Okay.
Okay. Fabulous. I'm just checking the attendees. We don't have anyone in the public right now. So calling this meeting of the Southborough Economic Development Committee Tuesday, April 25th to order at 7:03 p.m. Because we're doing this remotely instead of in person, I'm going to call out the members as I see them. Michael Moorhead.
Here.
Okay. Karen Anglum.
I think she's muted, but she's here.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, Karen. And John Wood.
Here.
Correct.
Excellent. Okay. So thank everyone for coming. We've been joined by Michael Nordstrom, who has expressed interest in joining the Southborough Economic Development Committee. Michael, it's a pleasure to have you express some interest in joining. I think for the process that we've done in the past, when the select board appoints you, what we'll do is we'll kind of do an official welcome and have you describe yourself, what your interests are in economic development. I will kind of maybe do that in an official manner when we have the chance to meet in person. That's always my preferred method of meeting as opposed to being on Zoom. I think it's just much more productive that way. However, we have not had a meeting in some time, so there are some agenda items and things to hit upon. So we'll do that in the future. Claire, I'm not sure if you have the agenda.
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
I do. So Michael was the first one because we figured Rob would be filling us in on you, but we have you in person, so that is even better.
So Claire, do we want to do the official introduction or wait until Michael's been?
I think so. I think it's a great opportunity.
Sure. Okay. Excellent. So Michael, maybe if you want to give a little bit of background on you, you know, your relationship to Southborough, and then your interest in the EDC.
Sure. I've been a resident of Southborough since 2014. I live on Meeting House Lane in the condo developments over here, I should say. My background is, as far as my career, I'm in quality management in medical device industry, which I've been doing for pretty much my entire career. And you know, I also you know, I have my master's in business administration from Mass Lowell. And you know, I've always been interested in business. I'm also interested in the town. You know, I try to attend some of the town meetings. I'm interested in the you know, what we can do to help out business thrive in the town, and just to see, you know, what are the factors that are causing, you know, maybe some things that aren't working well, and whatever we can help, you know, to encourage you know, smart development of the town. And also I'm just, you know, just curious by nature, just like to know, you know, what's going on in economic development, just, you know, how things are going, what's the you know, what businesses are contributing the least, the most, whatever, what problems are happening, and, you know, just how, you know, I can use my, you know, my background and common sense and business acumen to just, you know, to help out.
Fabulous. That's wonderful. It's always nice to have people with a variety of different skill sets and interests on any committee. I work in economic development, and I actually happen to believe that housing is a big component to economic development, but is, as you say, it's doing it strategically and in the right place. And so I think that's trying to find that right balance. And one of the things the EDC has done in the past is take a look at mixed use zoning in our downtown to try to encourage some re-energizing to a downtown which pales in comparison to some communities but has great bones for future growth if it's done correctly. I think one of the things that's important to the EDC now is Route 9 and kind of leveraging some of the spaces there for future development to help maintain, you know, a good balance between business and residential tax revenue coming in. So hopefully over time with our master plan and those things in place, we'll be able to move to a place, I guess, where we can attract more and different types of businesses. So I want to thank you so much for joining the EDC when you're approved by the select board, which will hopefully be coming tonight. So welcome. So I'm Rob Anderson, I'm the chair. I might like to also have the other members just take 2 seconds to explain who they are, so you can kind of get a flavor of who are joining us. And because he doesn't have it on mute, I'm going to go first to John.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I wasn't on mute. I'm John Wood. I've been on the EDC about 5 years now, I think. I was on the advisory committee for 10 or so years before that. Also currently on the Southborough Housing Authority, as well as SHOPSI, which is Southborough Housing Opportunity Committee, I think, or council. I work in state and local government because I'm a glutton for punishment, and here I am.
Fabulous. Thanks. Michael?
Michael. I'm Michael Moorhead, and I live up the road from you in Deerfoot. I am in town, been here since 2014 as well, wife and kids. I'm an architect. I work in Boston today, but working from home. I haven't been there a whole lot over the last 3 years. Been on the EDC about 3 years now as well. I met Julie, one of our other members, who is a lawyer and is instrumental in the rezoning of downtown. So she got me in for that reason, and I don't know how effective I was, but I was around for it, and very interested in seeing this little town fulfill its full potential and getting some development going on Route 9, which is about 200 yards that way. But we're just our little committee trying to move along here and trying to make something happen. So giving my time to where I can and seeing where it goes.
Excellent. Thanks. Karen?
Karen may be having a little bit of technical difficulties
Okay.
with the hearing. So how about if I just say how I fit into this picture?
I'm here. I'm here, Claire.
Okay, go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so I'm Karen Ingram. I have been in Southborough since 2001. I have 2 children, sophomore in high school at Algonquin, and my daughter's 7th grade at Trotter. My background's been in software development, but recently I became a realtor. So I did a lot of volunteering, coaching and Girl Scouts and youth and family services, but I wanted to broaden that to more like, how the town works and government, and also being a realtor, the housing component interests me. So I just also wanted to volunteer my time because, I think it's important to know what's going on in Southborough if you're a resident.
Fabulous. Thanks, Karen.
Mhm.
And Claire, maybe have you kind of finish up with you?
Well, I'm kind of a hybrid person. I was on EDC for 3 years a while back. And then I did not renew. I was involved with several other committees on the town. And but I have real interest in it. I am currently serving on a contract with the town as the interim coordinator, which started as of February 1st. This is actually my second tour of duty as a interim coordinator. We had an excellent person who left in June because she moved to Tokyo, and I was there before she came. She came in and did all kinds of wonderful things. She left, so I call myself, her name was Marika. You'll hear that name a lot. And I refer to myself as Mini Marika or Marika wannabe because I'm just filling the spot and trying to keep up with pretty much the day-to-day activities. But I talk to Marika at least twice a week. So anyway, I'm just serving this role. I do some other contract work for the town. And I also have my own business. So I've been in town for years and years and years. I guess I almost qualify for being a townie. So that's how I fit in.
Fabulous. Claire, thank you so much. And I think, as one of the things as chair, I always try to be cognizant of people's time. Because I work in economic development, I oftentimes find that I feel redundant and speak too much because one, I don't know how to cut myself off because that separation between work and also this is a volunteer job kind of blends together sometimes. So from a report standpoint, I think one of the things that I think is important is one, and thank you again for joining, is adding a couple new members to our EDC family. It's sometimes better to have a bigger group because there are differing opinions, different skill sets. And then when we identify goals, then we can actually have a larger team work towards achieving those goals. So we have had a couple of people, Chris Robbins and Alan Belniak, who have recently left. So it's kind of nice to have someone new here. And, fresh blood is always good for the conversation. So in terms of a report, I don't have too much to say beyond that. I would, as I said earlier, like having meetings in person. I think as we start identifying some of the initiatives and things on the agenda, and there is a need to get together more often, we'll actually try to do that. So that's a report first up on the agenda. I'm not sure if there are any reports from any of our members.
Rob, one of the things that I had was Michael had sent some information about a group that is looking for land.
And I was, yes, and because we have to follow agendas, I was going to put that underneath the Route 9 Business Corridor Initiative grant because it's a search for land, which lines up very well with Route 9.
Okay.
So because I want to make sure that from an open meeting standpoint, the agenda items seem to flow. The search for land involves Route 9, which is, I think, a better location for Michael's discussion than the member heading.
Okay, so Michael, we will move you either up a rung or down the rung. I don't know which way it works, but the next topic on here is the Route 9 Business Corridor Initiative Grant.
Excellent.
So
And Michael, one of the things I should, from if this is your first time on a town committee, there are certain things like open meeting laws, which we have to try to follow as closely as possible. So usually when there's a quorum, we do not discuss things that would be on the agenda. We try our best to acknowledge the public when they are there. We try our best to make sure that the agendas as they are presented kind of fit in with people's expectations. And so that's kind of why for at least Michael Moorhead's discussion about the search for land, it fits better underneath the Route 9 heading. So one of the things that we will, and you will learn, is open meeting law and kind of how everything fits. So as someone new, I think that's always useful to find out. So like if you want to talk about that land search, because it's could fit very well on Route 9. Maybe we'll have that discussion.
Sure. So my daughter is in a club soccer team, and it's NEFC, the New England Football Club. The big facility was just built up on Northborough Road, way to the high school from Main Street. But they've got other facilities throughout. I just picked up in Mendon. I think they've got others, but you know, so of course they send out 5,000 emails a week. And I got one and piqued my interest that said they're looking for land and, you know, and named all our surrounding neighborhoods there in Northborough. They practice in Westborough, they're in Mendon. They look here. So I know nothing more than that. I haven't reached out to them or anything, but you know, I sat here, I read it, and I kicked it over to Claire right away. So I don't know of anything personally. I don't know if anywhere on Route 9 is, you know, anywhere available, but these are big, you know, usually turf facilities that they just want to have more space to play on. It'd be like if they had 9/11 field, like 3 of those, you know, next to each other or something that feels like is what they're looking for. So I just want to throw it up to the group here, just, you know, keep your ears open or, you know, anything, you know, so if there is anything,
Well,
we could go back
absolutely.
down.
And I do think that the Dell EMC property could potentially be in play. It's one of the largest land sites along the Route 9 495 corridor. And I believe that, you know, and one of the things would have to be to check the zoning and how it would be classified. But I do know that there's land available. And so if that's the case, then in thinking about our initiative grants and those things that we're going for from the state as the community one-stop, we should identify perhaps those parcels that could fit, and whether or not the New England NEFC could purchase it or was interested, and potentially partnering with a developer who might be thinking about mixed use, because, you know.
So, I'm sorry.
Yeah, John.
I do know that the planning board is looking into that piece of property as well to rezone it to be part of the MBTA communities. That's like what I got out of that last meeting. They were contemplating whether that could be an alternative. That is also, besides being the biggest, that is one of the only pieces of industrial land we have to develop.
Yeah.
So I would rather personally, as I'd like to find out if it's just going to be fields, is there going to be any revenue draw to it? And are they tax exempt? Because if there are, I'd rather have business in there than soccer fields. Because that other one was a nonprofit that Julie was talking about before that wanted to put a stadium in there. Are they going to put like what they did on over in Marlboro, Michael? Do you know if they want to put a building on it, or is it just going to be a field?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could reach out to this guy. I could do more. I don't know if they're looking to purchase. I think they're just looking to have more, you know, spillover facilities, just places to play. I don't know that they want to buy it. And that's what I'm with you, John. If they could rent something, if they could rent space, you know, could it be a revenue driver? I don't think they're nonprofit. Like I joked, they can't be a nonprofit for what we pay them. So
I know,
Yeah.
right?
Back when I worked up in Billerica, I ended up speaking with a gentleman who owned the facility in Marlboro when he was looking for space. And one of the things that he described was that you have to, in order to be successful, have to be multi-season.
Mhm.
And so my expectation would be, and it obviously depend upon the gentleman from NEFC, was that it would be both a facility inside and outside. And the things that come along with that is some job creation and tax revenue because there's a facility.
Yep.
One thing would be, and you know, again, this would be something where our assessing team would be integral, is that if an Amazon warehouse goes up, it is probably taxed at the same rate as an indoor soccer field. because they're both basically shells with an awful lot of open space in there. So if we are thinking about using that industrial space for higher and better uses, there might be an infrastructure issue that we want to consider as well, where any type of initiatives and grants that we can get could be useful. But Michael, from your standpoint, do you think you could drop a note to the person who sent that out to
Yep.
find out whether or not they want to purchase, or and whether or not there would be fields and a building?
Yeah, I can certainly reach out to Jason, is his name. So, as you know, we've been searching for 6 to 10 acres of usable land. So, yeah, I'll take a stab. I'll reach out, see what he thinks, and get more information. I don't want to do that before I talk to you guys, though. And, you know.
No, I think it's a good idea, and it's I would say the conversations are always beneficial with anyone who's looking for land and how to use it, because one, that can inform some of the conversations that we have in the future. If he says, yeah, we're looking for land, but it needs to be on sewer because we're having a whole bunch of shower facilities and there's going to be food involved, and we don't have sewer, that can kind of take us out of the mix anyway. And just want to welcome another member here, Julie Connolly, who appears to be in a car as well.
Correct. Sorry about that.
Excellent. I want to let you know we're joined today by Michael Nordstrom, who is interested in joining the EDC. I believe he is going to be in front of the select board for approval to join. So he is just here kind of auditing until he comes on board as a member.
Fantastic.
So we're just kind of working our way through the agenda items, and because from a land standpoint, Route 9 and access might be important to soccer clubs looking to put up facilities and fields. That kind of fit underneath the Route 9 Business Corridor Initiative grant. Claire, are there any other items underneath that as well?
Under the initiative grant, the contract has finally been executed through all of the individual legal departments with Weston and Sampson to do their study, their recommendations, their everything that we got the grant for. And they are going to start. We're starting this week. The contract did not get, took about 5 weeks to get contract signed. And however, we have that. The scope of services has been reviewed. Paul Pazinski is still involved as an environmental consultant. There is a scope of work that anybody who is interested in can initially ask me for now. I'll be glad to provide it. Just on a side note, I'm trying to get, I just got a town email, which means I can have access to the town's OneDrive to post documents up there. Otherwise, I mean, I've been using my Google Drive and it's getting a little confusing. I'm working with the tech guys to get use of Marika's old laptop. And the advantage of that is to have access to the town's OneDrive so that all of you guys who have town email addresses can go and access documents. And then the other thing is, there's one other part of it. I can't think of what it is, but it's an advantage because the town wants to migrate everything to OneDrive versus having individual. Anyway, so we're working on that. So Weston Sampson's going to be starting. There is a schedule which has been, I put together That's also available for you. I have sent it out for the Weston Sampson people and for Paul Pazinski in order to get all of the steps involved between now and the end of June. We'll be able to come up with a good plan, which actually leads us into another subject. I'm not sure I want to just cover it right now unless you guys, this is one part of everything that leads into the whole one stop, which is going to be a discussion in a few minutes.
Okay, so why don't we save that for the one
Yeah.
stop?
Okay, yeah.
I think I'm glad to hear that the contract has been signed and we're moving forward. And hopefully some of the feedback that Weston and Sampson provide could be informative to site searches from businesses and entities looking out on Route 9 and kind of what some of the drawbacks might be and the hurdles to bringing stuff in. So I think that's very important, and I'm glad that we're moving forward on it.
Yeah, just quickly, one thing that, I've learned a lot about, more than I needed to know about wastewater. And one of the things that is key for engineers to be able to draw up these systems and recommendations and everything, and I'm sure Mike Moorhead, MM versus MN, is that engineers need to know what's going to go on Route 9 before they can design the appropriate systems.
The load that we're putting on it. That's
There you go. Yeah.
the way. Yeah.
So for example, one of the things I learned, and I'll be real quick on this, is if you're going to put in a couple restaurants, there makes a difference whether you are going to have 40 seats or 80 seats, and that's how you determine your capacities. Okay. So it's just things like that. Moral of the story here is it's going to take the collaboration of all of the individual committees, whether it's affordable housing, planning board, whatever, in order to come up with some scenarios for the town to be able to give to Weston and Sampson to be able to draw up different recommendations. Without getting into the weeds on that, if anybody has any questions, I'll glad to answer them. Or if not, that's essentially, they're going to do the studies in terms of what's required, the Title V stuff and everything. But when it comes down to the actual recommendations that they come up with, they need to know, are we going to, and I'm just going to throw this out, don't quote me on these figures because everybody will have a heart attack. But are we talking 100 unit affordable housing? Are we talking a 200 unit apartment complex? Are we talking, 3 little malls, retail kind of things, 2 restaurants or whatever? They have to have some kind of numbers that they're using so that they can throw the variables in to come up with recommendations on systems. So, Mike, help me out with that if you can. Even if
No, you're right.
You can say that I did it okay.
No, you did great. You did great. If they're gonna recommend anything, they need to know what their end game is. And so what are we trying to put on there?
Exactly.
And we could design a big system that supports,
Right.
five big restaurants and then have 3 bookstores and,
Right.
it's gonna be over designed. So
There's also one lost component of it, and this is something that I've learned from Rob. Is one of the things is your key drivers are affordable housing, which has to be in all of your grant applications at some aspect, the way I've been reading the tea leaves, so to speak. The other thing is the whole issue of regionalization. let's take out the regionalization, the type, there's all different kinds of regionalization. So let's take out the type that we talked about at town meeting, because that doesn't have anything with what we're talking, we're doing here. But my point is, if we put in a feeder or whatever, a direction in terms of what would be, or what are the capabilities, what are the possibilities of regionalization, that's going to be another trigger that's going to get people's attention from the people who are providing the grants and all. So what I did with this, and Rob, at the last meeting, you had talked about Westboro, and I have talked to Jim Robbins. As we talked, he was gone, he's back now. He told me what they, where they are with their capacities there, and their interest in regionalization. So one of the components of this, and again, without getting into too much with the grant, is to include regionalization. And fortunately, Paul Pazinski was very, very involved with the regionalization when they did the Blackstone Valley regionalization wastewater system. So he has some tremendous experience. And all we need, like right now at the standpoint, is somebody who understands all of that, who's been kind of through the experience, and then can look at it and say, what are the pros and cons of it?
I think to that point, and I think it's one thing that is going to be a discussion item, is depending upon what happens on the Dell EMC property, is how can the two communities work best together for the benefit of each community? And so if there's a capacity issue in Westboro, and we, because we do not have a wastewater system, we don't have any capacity right now, surely there has to be some element of collaboration that can get both communities what they want if there is any type of development in that area.
Right.
I think that open lines of communication and trying to maintain that relationship and discussion so that we both know what's happening can be extremely valuable. And so I think that's kind of one of the priorities and initiatives, which lines very well with the grant that we got for Weston and Sampson, and those things that might be beneficial going forward, because it is a large land site. The rumor on the street is that there is a development coming in that area. I think if that is the case, then there should at least be some discussions between the two municipalities that say that. So, I think whatever conversations you can glean from Jim is something that can be beneficial to us.
Right.
Now,
and that was
before-
with the guidance that you had given me.
Yep.
So, and he was very, theirs is done under the DPW, their wastewater and stuff is their DPW. So, and now we will have a new, shortly DPW director, which I think the timing could be very, very beneficial on this.
Well, Jim is leaving, and Jim has been in Westboro for an extremely long time. So we don't want to miss out on his historical expertise in the area and on
Right.
Route 9.
Yeah.
And particularly leading to a time when we can leverage the new people coming in for conversations. So before we hop down into the discussion items and your EDC coordinator report, are there any other questions from the EDC members on the Corridor 9 initiative grant?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, because I think you both raised some really good points, and I agree with you, Rob, that there should be a way that, as between Southborough and Westboro, we should be able to collaborate and come up with an agreement that benefits both of us. But I feel like part of the problems that we've faced over many of these types of projects is we need to be clear and find out who the designated person is to be speaking and negotiating on behalf of Southborough, and making sure that they're proactive, because I feel like we often lose out on opportunities. And unfortunately, as EDC, we don't have the ability to negotiate on behalf of the town. But especially during this time when we have a board turning over and all that, like I just want to not lose out on opportunities because we don't know who's sort of managing that.
It's a very good point, and I would say that you know, and it's coming at this from an outside perspective, not as my role as the Southborough EDC chair, but someone in economic development. That type of direction comes from the town manager.
Yeah.
But there also has to be a key point of contact for those things that are economic development related. The town of Westboro has a key designated economic development individual who is, you know, charged with marketing the sites, speaking with businesses and the like. That person is a full-time position. We do not have a full-time position. We have a part-time position and someone doing it on a contract basis because, you know. So I would say more than likely, whatever happens with that joint event, and, you know, I do know and expect that the person from Westboro is talking with real estate brokers because that's his job. And he's briefing his town manager. I would expect, you know, if we're able to connect and find out some information, we would brief Mark Purple as well. And then he would kind of set the standards for those things that we can do. That's my opinion until we, unless people disagree.
Totally agree.
Yeah, because it's, again, when thinking about, and again, it all tends to tie into the one stop, and I don't want to miss out. Anything that has to do with public infrastructure has the opportunity for a MassWorks grant, which is available through the Community One Stop for Growth. The state is always interested in those that have good PR. If two communities collaborate on an application for MassWorks to improve the public infrastructure for both communities from a PR standpoint, it's fabulous because it's not just one municipality doing it without checking with their neighbors. There is an opportunity there. I don't want us to miss it, which is where these continuing conversations with Westboro can be useful because the one stop is important. And we'll hit upon that in a little bit. But to Julie's point, I would kind of, I don't want to say punt it to our town administrator, but maybe have him identify how he wants to handle this joint collaboration. If the town administrator feels strongly that the EDC should take a role in coordinating and communicating, I think I'd be happy to do that, but I'd follow his direction on that. So Claire, maybe you can talk with Mark and say, hey, Mark, this is what the EDC might like to do. Do you agree? And have him.
Yeah. Okay. So this actually is going into another part of the one stop that I was going to talk about, because that is a deadline that is coming up. I think, Rob, you've been the person who has educated me the most in terms of how the one-stop program is handled in other towns. And it is at the town manager, town administrator level. The reason that I'm bringing this up is because Vanessa has been handling the one-stop grant, an application. We're coming into another finalized application cycle. My recommendation is to have the EDC send a letter to both the town administrator and the assistant town administrator in terms of how are we going to get, or how about getting all of the different boards and committees together who have some interest either now or in the future with One Stop in terms of putting together a cohesive town plan. I understand that there is the master plan. However, that there is nothing in the master plan which actually puts together what is your whole town, in like 1,000 words or less or whatever. What is your whole town? There is a paragraph in the master plan that I pulled out, and that has to be the key thing that drives everything. And unless sometime between now and the beginning of June, when the one-stop grant has to be finalized, there is a meeting of everybody with just whether they're going to listen, they have to, if they don't approve, they have to speak up, okay? Unless that happens, we might be missing some part of it. This will come out when the big part of this meeting that I was hoping we would do is to go through quickly the implementation plan.
Well, Claire, why don't we do that? Because I think we've
Okay.
spoken on the agenda, on the reports
Yeah.
about some of your activities and things like that. Why don't we
Yeah.
hop into the discussion?
Okay. So if I go in and if I share my screen and bring up, okay, bear with me for a second because I'm kind of new at this. Okay. One of the things that Julie had done way back when was to take all of the goals. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So Julie had gone and pulled out the goals which were relevant for EDC. Subsequent to that, what Judith Watson did as one of the members of the implementation committee, which was a carry-on after the master plan, was to go in and separate all of the individual goals. So what you're looking at here is a listing of all of the goals from the master plan. And then I actually created a column, which is the third column here, because if you look at the individual goals, and each committee needs to do this. If you look at all of them, everybody has, each individual entity, for example, the EDC, has to agree that they has to either ask questions, is this goal in the right place? Okay, everybody with me so far on that one?
Yes.
Okay. So what I did was I went down and my text is in the third column in blue letters, okay, blue print, okay. And I mean, it's very, for example, this goal ED-1.0, enhance the downtown district to provide a vibrant hub that's attractive for both businesses and residents. Yeah, it's an EDC goal, but it also should be a shared tasks across boards and committees to ensure that there is agreement. Okay, so let's scroll down a little bit more and take a look at the design guidelines. I'm not exactly sure these, I know they have been approved. I don't know if they can actually be requested or found on the website. However, just so that everybody knows, as a little extra on here, the town is finally in the process of using a new template for the town website. So if you look at Southborough's website and then you look at some other websites, whether it's Ashland, Hopkinton, it doesn't make any difference. They have templates that are a little bit more attractive, easier to read, find things. That process, the individual department heads are being trained on that now, and they expect to go live with that at the middle of May, which I think will be a big improvement. It's a great time to do a launch. All right, so the thing is that, and we won't have time to go through all of this tonight. I doubt it, but there's a couple things here. For example, it says approvals that need to be done. One of the examples that I can think of is the parcel, the old National Grid parcel in downtown, which was has been kicking around for a while. It's now in the hands of the select board, that's fine. That's where it has to be. But when you start to take a look at what land is there, what can be used, what can't be used. For example, if you look at right in the middle of your screen, ED 1.6, it says evaluate, one of the goals from the master plan is evaluate the options and develop plans for creating a community green space within the downtown district. One of the questions that has to be answered, does that community green space have to be town owned? Or, what is the compensation for, excuse me, some private person to give up some green space? That's not a whole heck of a lot of it down there.
Well, no, and I think that's to those examples, nonprofits themselves, like St. Mark's,
Yeah.
can actually have open properties open to the public. That could be the green space as well. So I think that's a further discussion. But I
Right.
think, like in terms of the document you've pulled together and what we might be able to pull from it, are there certain activities that have been identified that we as the EDC can try to undertake and achieve right now to, kind of further achieving some of the goals from the master plan?
Right. And most of them, that's a good point. Most of them are collaborative efforts. I mean, 1.8 on CSX, that's not a EDC responsibility. That's something DPW has been working on, and I don't know what the status is. The new DPW director would have to take care of that. Okay, so to your question, Rob, ED 1.9, right? On the access to downtown for pedestrian sidewalks and stuff. The initial Main Street reconstruction project had this in there. If you drive down 85 today from Route 30 down to Woodward School, they're doing sidewalks there today. So some of that stuff is, happening. So it's a clarification type of thing to take a look at. When DPW put together the Complete Streets project and all of the VHB drawings, for which there was a tremendous amount of taxpayer money spent on that, how much of that includes sidewalks? So essentially, what I did was I tried to take each one of these and take a look at them and say, for example, seek funding opportunities for bike racks and stuff. That has already been done when the 2020 Shared Streets and Spaces program was put together. Some of this information, you'll notice it's in a different, kind of like in a pink color. Marika and I talked about it because she was the one who was really the most familiar with it. So she filled in some of these things on here because we talk on a regular basis. And she filled in some of these things from her experience that she had when working with it. So yes, there are ones in here that the EDC can start working with right away, putting together a framework or whatever, and move on from that. However, the important thing is to identify upfront what are the things that have been put to the EDC that need to be discussed. Is this really an EDC, responsibility?
Yeah, that is a good point. I think, that it's twofold. One, finding out whether or not it's us or it's collaborative. And the second one is, for those that are us, are there any that we can undertake as a committee to try to achieve?
Well, some of them have already been done.
Yes.
What I actually did was I listed up here, ED 1.1 and 1.2. Those tasks were completed, which was great. And those were the ones that were approved at the town meeting. There's a couple things which are that come out from that. For example, an update on the zoning map, that type of thing. If you think about looking at the third column here, the third column needs to be followed on with a fourth column in terms of what you're saying, Rob, is the EDC has taken a look at this and we've said, yes, we can do this. This is how we think we should go about doing it. Let's have a discussion with everybody to make sure everybody is in sync. And then move ahead, move ahead with them. For example, ED 1.4 is definitely an EDC task, a marketing and communication package to explain the changes. I think, so my question, if I was leading this whole thing, my fourth column would have something to say, what is it that essentially has changed, which would entice, now don't forget, this whole section deals with the downtown district. So what is it that it would entice a developer to, when you explain the changes to the zoning regulations and the new design guidelines to residents and potential developers, right? What is it that would now entice a developer to get involved with doing development work in the downtown area?
Well, and what I would say is, like, if we had a full-time person, what we would do is say, listen, it's your task to come up with a document to work with a design firm to kind of bring that to life. And I would also say that because the number of parcels within the downtown were smaller than what could have been identified, it's tiny, that part of that marketing strategy also has to be talking about Southborough as a whole and the community. What's the benefit for a business to come here outside of just the downtown? And I would say, the proximity to 495 and the Pike, the fact that there's Route 9, the fact that we have a commuter rail station are all things that can help Southborough as a whole, but might not necessarily be applicable to the downtown. you lead with the downtown, but then you talk about all of the different amenities that can be brought to the table. So, you know, that might be one of those goals where, you know, we start working towards that. And maybe Claire, you want to start thinking about, you know, a bulleted list of things that might be marketable to
Yeah.
a business that if they're thinking about coming here. And, you know,
So,
I,
a lot of this has already been done. Like we have all this information.
Exactly. Yep.
The two things that come to mind really quickly are were 10 years ago when I joined this committee. Chris Robinson had put together this this pamphlet that was, you know, supposed to promote the businesses that were existing in Southborough and explain why it was an attractive community to do business in. So that exists, and we can, and it had all those things that you mentioned, Rob, about convenience and everything else, the workforce, and he pulled a lot of data. Obviously, that was 10 years ago, so some of the data might need to be updated. But the template of the infrastructure is all there. And same thing, even with, you know, bringing to life the vision of what the downtown could look like. When we were putting together the zoning regulations, we worked with WDA Designs, who are now actually not them anymore. They spun off, and I have the name somewhere. But they put together renderings for us of what, you know, what sorts of buildings could potentially fit in various areas of the downtown, on the new in Main Street corner, at 20 Boston Post Road, you know, and where was the third one? Trying to think, there was a third one as well.
Well, they had the 2 Main Street, East Main.
Yeah, 2 Main, yeah. So yeah, 2 East Main, but there's another one too. But anyway, like that, they still have those files. Like it might need to be tweaked now because we sort of did that with a preliminary draft of the the zoning bylaw. But now that it's been final, we can get them updated and say, okay, within these parameters, what exactly could fit. And I agree, a marketing effort would be, you know, fantastic, because I mean, I've reached out to some people I know, you know, but it's really hard to find somebody, you know, and but I think it needs to be sort of a townwide period and townwide effort to find someone. But yeah, we need to literally market it, and I don't know how we go about doing that.
well, it's,
we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because a lot of it's there.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that and if we have this stuff and we have the basis for it, I think one of the things that we can leverage is the fact that we are a member of the 495 Metro West Partnership, and they have a monthly newsletter that goes out to businesses, other communities, service providers, that if we have a marketing flyer, we talk with Jason and we say, hey, Jason, listen, we've got this new marketing flyer, we've got this new link. Can you send it out as part of your monthly newsletter? And that way we can hit people from a regional perspective. I think what we just need to do is have something ready to go, and maybe Claire, that's something you can work on, so that when it is ready to go, we can, like I said, leverage what Jason has.
Yeah. You know, just focusing on downtown, you essentially have 3 property owners with decent sized property that you have to contact to see what interests they have. We already know Jim Falcone wants to do something with 20 Boston Road.
Yep.
We also know that there is the Peter Bemis property. And then the third one is the whole Park Street area. Marek and I talked to these spaces a while back, and they've got some things that they were working out, so to speak, but they need to know that they have a partner in with the town, with the powers to be, so to speak.
Claire, what about 11 Main?
Oh, I don't know. The office building, well, it wasn't, yeah, that's a good one. I'll put that on the list, Julie, because I don't really have any information on that. I do know that the law office across the street from there you know, that used to be, it's kind of like, it's next to, Ray Hokinson.
Yeah, the green building.
Yeah, that's been on the market. It did just get sold. And, I think there might be a doctor's office going in. I have to I think the deal is kind of in progress because the sign is still up, but their son is at meetings that I go to, and he was the one who told me. So that's all I can say about that right now. But it, you know, it is in progress, so to speak. So it, you know, if you think about it, if you're talking about amenities, which a lot of the businesses, if it gets developed, some of the amenities are going to be things that people want to use in downtown. That's that you have to have a solid plan for downtown that you have people, you know, buy into. Just remember, those of you who were around when Howard Grossman came to an EDC meeting a while back, you know, he had ideas too.
I reached out to Howard. He's not in the area anymore.
Right. But you remember when he was at the EDC meeting. If you don't, I'll refresh your memory.
Oh yeah.
That's too bad he's not interested.
No, I think it's always good to review the EDC's projects from the master plan, but I think as long as we understand that there are some that we can get working on that are ours alone, why don't we try to take and run with those? Because just like any good to-do list, I like crossing things off. So the ones where we have control and can work on, especially if we have that background, I think I'd like to try to do, because we don't want to miss opportunities. And so to that, and also, you know, given the fact that my dinner was just delivered, I'd like to talk about things that we don't want to miss out on, which is the one-stop grant application, which is next up on the agenda. They are due by June 2nd. The one-stop application has multiple grants which can help municipalities achieve their goals. I think there are some communities that have lots of projects already lined up because they submitted multiple expressions of interest. The one thing that I do want to make clear to the EDC and those people out there who are listening is that you do not need to submit an expression of interest to fill out an application. The expression of interest just gives a heads up to those people who can help direct into which of the silos people might end up on. But if municipalities identify grants that they want to apply for and they haven't done an EOI, they can still do it. It's just by June 2nd, the deadline. So if there are ideas for us or other boards and committees, people can still apply and get that into the queue. I'm not sure if we've made any suggestions or how the town manager's office, town administrator's office feels about this, but there's a opportunity.
Rob, if I can, how about I just draft up a letter for you to review and send with what I think would be my ideas. I mean, and I'm just talking maybe like the first or second week in May, have the town administrator or the town assistant town administrator have a Zoom call, have a meeting, everybody together and say, this is what we have, this is what we're planning on doing. What is it that all of your individual departments can add to this? One of the things that the select board talks about is that it's everybody's responsibility to take a look at where they're going to be able to get grant money. This is something that we had talked about before. and giving help. And I think that this is just a really good way to get this thing started, to make sure that people really understand what the one-stop program is. I swear, I don't think people understand the value of it and how you have to have a whole plan that builds in order to be able to show with each grant that you have received, you have done step 1, step 2, step 3 to get to what is your goal that you have for the town that's been identified.
Right. Well, and I, you know,
Sort of.
I think that was part of the EDC's perspective in trying to get a full-time person.
Understood.
A grant individual tied in with the economic development would be searching for those grants, applying for those grants, bring it to people's attention.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, I'm not going to rehash my own personal opinions on the choices made by other boards and committees as to the viability and usefulness of a full-time position.
Right.
I don't want to
Unfortunately, we
Read-
don't have it. We can go back after it again next year.
Well, read the last.
Rob, can I ask a
Let's
question about the
go.
the one-stop grant?
Yep.
Is this something that maybe where you were earlier talking about working collaboratively with Westboro? Is this a grant that
No, not yet.
maybe we
No,
not yet?
no. And the reason is because we have our own, when that grant was, well, when the Route 9 grant was put together, it was specifically said what it was going to cover.
I
Right?
understand that, but I didn't know if the one-stop grant, if we could do some collaborative thing with Westboro now on this other grant application we're going to write. Because like where Wayland and Sudbury worked on Route 20 for their treatment plant and were able to get the grant. I didn't know if this was something that we could work with them. They could apply for the same grant on their side of the 495 for the same issues.
Okay,
And
so
maybe
when Jim Robbins should be back now. Even though he didn't resign, he retired, but then they hired him back as a contractor until they filled the town planner position in Westboro. So one of the things that he told me was their capacity is divided into 3 buckets. They're fine with the industrial and the commercial. What they need help with is the residential. So there is a component of the residential part that could at some point in time be brought up. That's a good point.
So,
Well, I thought they were having the capacity issue as well with what they're trying to put up on.
I specifically asked him that question, and he explained to me how they work their wastewater flows and all that kind of stuff. Whoever it was that did the pitch to them and wrote up the whole thing's been approved because they are able to cover what they need for the life science building with their current capacity.
Okay.
yeah, I think
Great
John,
question, because that's the same thing we all thought before.
no, John, I think to your question and your point, I think if the life science developer could have done a larger facility, they might have considered it,
Oh, that's
but
interesting.
they built the size, they designed to the capacity that they could use. And
Exactly.
so the question would then be, if there was more capacity, would they have designed more? And so I think that's to it. But to your point, and collaboration with Westboro, the biggest component of the community One Stop for Growth is MassWorks. MassWorks is not build it and hope that they will come. It's you kind of line up the developers and identify the public infrastructure, and then you take that next step. MassWorks is the largest grant program in the state. there could be component elements to put us in a better position for MassWorks collaboratively that happen right now. And so, Claire, maybe if you could, and if Jim's back, you just kind of shoot out to him and say, hey, listen, on the development continuum, on the community one stop, are there programs out there where we can explore them collaboratively to put us in a
Yeah.
better position for MassWorks?
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
just wondering that because we're talking about being collaborative within town. Are we being short-sighted?
Well, it's two things. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
So-
once the stuff we have within Southborough, and then there's reaching out to other
Yeah, but
towns.
what we have going on in Southborough is affecting them as well. So it affects us worse, unfortunately, but I just don't want to be short-sighted.
Yeah. No,
I mean,
and
God forbid we
and-
look at zoning and different things like that first, but
right. Now, Claire, maybe after we end the meeting, you can just give me a quick call,
Yep.
and you and I can have a conversation. And I can give you like one or two ideas to maybe run by Jim.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so I'm I usually personal preference, because I want to keep everyone awake and identifying other priorities. Other priorities on the EDC's agenda. Are there any others? I think grants is a key thing. We've spoken about that. I think making sure that we do the marketing. We've spoken about that. That fits within some of the projects on the master plan, which can obviously then be supplemented by the grants and things like that. I think one of the other EDC priorities, and frankly, this is I'm going to keep on beating the drum on this. Green energy, green things that are environmentally friendly. We went through the MVP process, the municipal vulnerability process. I believe we are a green community. We should try to like align those priorities for environmental stewardship with development. And that's something that should remain on there. Housing is another priority as well that I want to make sure that we don't lose. Are there any others that I'm missing that the EDC would like to include?
Rob, when you say those are the other, are those, the items that we should be focusing on right now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that those are some components that we don't want to lose sight of when we think about economic development. I don't feel like it's when I say let's think about clean energy and being in environmental stewardship. It's not listed in the master plan. It doesn't necessarily fit within the business recruitment or business retention, which is kind of the bread and butter of the EDC. But it's another priority that I think is vitally important to think about when we're thinking about the type of community that we want to be. So I'm just wondering if there are any others that I might be forgetting about outside of what is traditionally, the EDC's role of business recruitment and business retention.
Yeah, and I wholeheartedly agree with you. I'm wondering how we sort of formalize that into what we do. Like, do we submit some sort of, put together some sort of policy statement that incorporates that? Or, I know you've talked about initiatives that might be available in the past, things like, solar coverings for parking lots and things like that. Is that, like, I'm just trying to think about how we turn that into something actionable other than, just a nice thought.
You know what, guys, that might, and I don't know off the top of my head, but I would bet that's already in another section of the master plan. So why don't I take a look at that over the next couple of days and see where it actually, fits in. I gotta believe it, the land use or the other sections. I don't know, maybe Mimi's here, she might be able to, add on that, but because there's like 9 different sections or 8 or 9 different sections that deal with different components, and I bet that's in there someplace. And we can look in there and see how we fit in with that.
Yeah, no, I think it's always good to align and see where there can be the options for collaboration. I mean, like one of, we've spoken about this in the past, and we've written a letter of support to the Trails Committee for connecting the downtown via the trails. I think that's a brilliant idea, because if people can walk to our downtown, then all of a sudden there's the opportunity to support the businesses there. So, that wouldn't necessarily always fit within an EDC priority. So that's one thing I always just want to make sure that we consider going forward. Now, I feel like I've done an awful lot of talking. So to that, public comment. I know we have one attendee, Mimi, from the planning board. I'm not sure if Mimi, you wanted to offer anything.
I don't see a hand raised.
I don't see a hand raised, so
Going once, going twice. Okay, she's here for observation. Okay, perfect.
yeah, then nope, it's always good. It's always nice to have participants from other committees join us as well. Okay, now the 2 most important things. Well, adjourn would be the most important thing.
Rob, I'm going to post the draft minutes. They're not completed, but I'm going to send them to Kate to post them.
Yep.
Which is legit. Okay.
Okay.
And then I'll send them out to you guys to be able to, I can't find my February notes, but I kind of did it and there were no recordings. So I'm kind of like piecing those together, but I have enough on the draft minutes to be able to do that.
So what do you need from us?
I don't know. Mike's, Mike takes very good notes.
Do you have my February? What days do you need? Which one was it? What's your February?
It's the one you weren't at, the February one.
There you go.
Okay.
I'll send minutes right over.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. Okay.
Great.
So, do you guys want to set up like a once a month, twice a month? We had kind of done like a one night and then 2 weeks later, a Friday morning, and then the next 2 weeks, a Thursday night. It's kind of like, is there any, I think for your planning purposes, it makes it better when you know that there's some kind of a, it's kind of like planning board meets 2 Mondays a week, a month. Select board meets 2 Tuesdays a month. Anybody have any ideas on that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I always want to be cognizant of is those people who have kids and outstanding evening commitments and morning commitments as well. So I want to be, this is a volunteer role. I greatly appreciate everyone's flexibility and participation, but I want to make sure that it doesn't become burdensome for people. I think more often than not, Thursday nights tend to work well for me, even though this one is a Tuesday.
Tonight's Tuesday.
Yeah. No, Thursday nights tend to work better.
Okay.
But
For me as well.
some work conflicts,
So
we had to do it Tuesday.
it's Thursday.
So, how do people feel about Thursday night for a meeting?
Fine for me.
The next one would be May 11th.
Okay.
Okay?
Generally, Thursday nights are fine. I have to look at my calendar. May 11th
Okay.
sounds familiar. So I don't know. I
What
might
do
have
you
a
hear?
conflict, but I'll check.
That's my
Um,
son's 16th birthday, so I might be busy. I don't know if you
Yes.
have to take him out for his birthday for 16th, but otherwise Thursdays usually work for me.
Yeah, I think if possible, maybe what we'll try to do, Claire, if we can, in person.
Yeah. Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
What's our quorum now? How many do we need for a quorum?
4.
Fourth?
Yep.
Good. And then when Michael comes on, that doesn't change, does it? Because
I
we
don't
have
know,
5-person
there's
committee
5
right now?
members now, 6, so no, it'd still be 4.
Yeah.
But I think it's fabulous. He might have cut out to go do his interview or something.
It's back on.
We'll reach out to him. Michael, you there?
Yes, ma'am.
He is, yeah, okay. So, May 11th, Thursdays, is that good for you to meet?
Yeah, it should be fun.
On
Thanks.
Thursday nights? Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're just trying to kind of put a stake in the ground for people's planning purposes. So do you want to do like, every other Thursday, or what's your kind of preference? Anything? Two meetings a month? Want to do 1 meeting? You want to do 4?
Four's
No,
out.
no,
Four's out.
Four's out. So w- partially, but fully honest, because I could be convinced otherwise. Leading into the summertime, the benefit to doing a Thursday evening meeting is that for those people who are taking long weekends in the summer, you get it out of the way. You don't have to worry about a Friday meeting and
Right.
all of those things. The other thing is it's leading into the summer. And I think at least for the summertime, particularly because we do not have a large initiative like the zoning changes and things like that, we
Okay.
can be productive
month.
with once a month. Thank you. Yep.
Okay.
Agreed.
All right.
Agreed.
So the only other thing is, can we tentatively mark a second Thursday in May before summer really starts, just in case, because of the whole one-stop thing, being
Yes.
due at June 1st, okay? Can I make a deal with you guys on that?
Yes.
What's your offer besides the 11?
Well, it'd be 2 weeks from that, so what do we have, the 18th?
Or you'd have to, I think you'd have to do it another day that week, Michael, because that gives us,
Yeah.
in case we need to make any revisions to any potential application.
Yeah, there's only 2
I would
weeks
just
after
have it
that
that week.
11. You gotta do
Okay,
that week
so
some
you,
point, right?
so you want to do 11th and the 18th? That's
No, I think John's saying the week of the 11th, which is the
I think,
8th.
yeah, just do it on the 11th, and that way, that Thursday, and that way we have enough time in case there's any other changes. We could have one again if we needed it before June 1st. That's my thought process. I don't know about
Yeah.
anybody else, but
No, I think I think we set the standard. If it gets to be the 11th and it turns out that we need to have a second one, we've got a week to post the agenda and I can take that next step.
okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
You know, so okay, so the next meeting will be scheduled in person, May
Good.
11th. Now, a question again, because I did notice, John, that you were in the car and Julie was in the car. Do we want to say maybe start at 7:30 and not 7 to allow people to make it back, or?
yeah, I
think
could, I
heard
mean,
it.
Thursdays is usually a little bit quieter. Unfortunately, tonight, I just got a big proposal due on Thursday that I was working on until just before you guys saw me.
Okay.
7:30 is better for me.
If you can do 7:30, I appreciate it personally, but I'm not gonna make anybody else stay out that late if they.
No, I think why don't we aim for 7:30?
Okay. yeah.
One, again, I appreciate everyone's commitment. I usually like having shorter, more condensed meetings. I think if we start at 7:30 and know that there's a witching hour at some point in time where people just want to get home, exactly. It kind of helps us out there. So exactly. So this next meeting schedule will be May 11th at 7:30. Claire,
Okay, in person. Well,
in person.
I'll call Sue tomorrow and see about getting the senior center.
That's a pretty convenient location, actually.
It
I
is,
don't mind
yes.
that.
Okay.
He's kind of
Yes.
rough. Good luck with that.
No, yeah, I know, really. You know, it takes her like 5 minutes to get back to me. I mean, you know, what's wrong with 2 minutes?
I'll tell her that when I go back in.
Yeah, thanks, John.
So,
Are you still in the car?
I'm home now. I was literally driving around the block because once
Oh.
I pull out, my dog's gonna go crazy as soon as he
Oh,
sees
I
me.
was gonna say
So-
toot when you go by, will you?
yeah.
I did. It was as funny as I was talking about different properties on Main Street. I was driving down Main Street. So
So again, and this is something that I find really important. And I, as someone who is potentially in charge of pulling agenda items together, Michael, you're sending the thing about the football club was brilliant. If people have agenda items that they want to include, please let me know, because I could miss things. We could, not end up discussing something that's important. So if you have any ideas, feel free to shoot them out, doing an event, something that they heard on the rumor mill that might be out there, things that you think should be included, send them in, and that would be important. So I guess that's the kind of last thing, I guess.
Why we're here.
Yep. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, and then we're gonna do a vote.
John
Those
Wood,
I
aye.
see them. Yeah, John Wood, are you in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Karen,
Aye.
Julie,
hi.
Michael,
Aye.
excellent. And Michael, thank you for sticking with it. When we do this in person, we don't have to do a roll call vote when you join. You'll learn all of this stuff, and it would be great to be able to meet you in person. So I look forward to that. We are adjourned. Thank you so much, and I'll see everyone on May 11th. Okay.
Thanks,
All
Rob.
right.
Welcome
Nice to meet
to the
everyone.
committee, Michael.
And
Thanks.
new Michael, he does, oh, no, he said, if you have any questions, I am at creynolds@southboroughma.com. That's my new EDC address.
Okay, thank you very much.
Feel free to reach out for any information you might need.
Great. Appreciate it.
Okay, guys.
Bye.